18 years of undercover work, what was the scariest probably moment of your career?
I've been in deals in cars and stuff, where dudes pointed guns at my face. What I remember as like true having really a feeling like, man, I might not make it out of here.
Was starting to getting arrested, and then there was some kind of policy put in place where they were getting deported.
My first day on the job, my first undercover deal, and I've already made really bad choices.
That mindset alone is not the mindset of us who are in law enforcement, who are in service to the country. We provide value. We want to provide some kind of support. We want to serve.
Back then, when you got on ATF, you started working before you even went to the academy.
I'm trying to be home as much as possible. Definitely, I sit there and thinking like, fuck, man, my kids didn't get a good version of me, and I hope they forgive me, dude. And I felt like we're in a good place now, man. And it was just like I needed that for me to be like, that's my daughter, bro.
I know you're going to carry that for the rest of your life, and I'm going to carry that for the rest of my life. Let me do it. I'm going to carry that to my grave. Let me do that. I'm going to put that on my back and carry it so you don't have to.
Welcome to the VinnyRoc podcast.
I took the blows and did it my way.
It's time. The VinnyRoc podcast.
Here we go. Lou, sorry about all that.
Hey, no problem, brother.
I know we had some technical difficulties earlier, but everything's looking good now on your end.
Oh yeah, we're good.
Brother, we met through Core Medical during one of the events, and I always saw you in the corner of the room. We never really had time to talk the first two times. It's kind of in passing because I was either speaking at the same event or you were speaking at the event or whatnot. But I'm excited that we finally get to sit down. I've heard a lot about you. I've heard a lot about your story. We connected, and you connected me with one of your friends for the Borderland podcast. So I'm excited finally to hear more about your story and what you got going on in your life.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it, brother. It's great to be on the show with you. I'm a retired ATF agent, and just trying to hustle in this new business, the entertainment business. And I'm learning that it's a lot dirtier than the government, man.
Yeah, it's navigating this space is not for the faint of heart. I'd say that it genuinely has been hard for me as well, and trying to figure out if I want to continue in the space in the capacity that I was, or do I want to step back and like producing or something, because it's a dog eat dog world, and in the film industry and the entertainment industry, it's kind of focused on, like, a lot of people believe in scarcity. And so when they believe in scarcity, they don't want to support, they don't want to help. They're scared that you're going to take their job, you're going to take their money. And that mindset alone is not the mindset of us who are in law enforcement, who are in service to the country. We provide value. We want to provide some kind of support. We want to serve. And so the two mindsets don't really blend when you're talking about people like us who are built to serve others, who are always trying to help others, reach back and bring someone with us. Not in the entertainment industry. It's kind of who can claw their way to the top before you, and they don't care how they get there.
Bro, I mean, every word you just said is just ringing so true with me, dude. At least when I was on the streets, going up against bad guys, I knew what to expect, right? I knew who I was dealing with and what to expect. In Hollywood, bro, it just snakes, man. Everyone you deal with, you don't know what to expect, man. It's dangerous, man.
My first reality TV. So those of you guys who are listening or watching, there's scripted television and then there's non-scripted television. And scripted television would be television shows and movies that you see, like, episodics, Mayans kind of thing. And then non-scripted is your reality TV. And in all honesty, most non-scripted is now kind of not semi-scripted, but very structured, so you can tell the story the way you want to. Back in the day, reality TV was like Real World, where they just turned the cameras on and just kind of filmed all day, right? Yep. And now it's really budget, and time constraints, and really trying to focus on what can we get done in this amount of time and get the story told. And so in that space, I had a show for the History Channel called Brothers in Arms. And man, it was an eye opener how, one, those are filmed, but two, the contract I signed was for, I think it was 87 episodes, and I had no fucking clue. I thought it was for the first season. And I was like, okay, yeah, I'll sign for the first season. And then when I went back and looked at the contract, I was screwed for 87 episodes, which you and I know that's 8 seasons plus.
Yep.
And so they had me by the balls. If this thing ran 8 seasons for 8 years, I'd be stuck filming for the same beginning rate, which the rate was garbage. It was nothing. And there was no way I can change the contract because I already signed it. And that was my first introduction to like, fuck, dude, you need your own lawyer.
Yep. Get an agent, man. Like, it's so true. How'd you get out of that? How did that work, man?
I was very lucky, dude. So the show was labeled as a gun show, not a military veteran show, which we were hoping it would be labeled for military veteran, because it's aired on a massive company platform like History Channel.
Yeah.
Sponsors decided to back off of the show because during that time we had 2 major active shooter scenarios happen, and the Vegas one and the one in Florida. I think it was the one at the elementary in Florida.
School. Yep.
And so those 2 pretty much after 5 episodes they decided to end the show.
Okay.
So it was a blessing. It was a blessing in disguise, dude. We were able, and at the same time, I landed Mayans already. So I was already like, oh, I don't want this. This is what I really came for. I wanted the Mayans kind of world. For me, that's what I was chasing.
Sure. Yeah. I kind of came into a little bit different. When I retired, a buddy of mine said, man, you got to write a book just to get your mind right, because a lot of things had gone wrong in my career, my personal life. So he goes, just write a book, man. He goes, get your mind right, put it on paper. And kind of like you, I wasn't chasing it, right? I did it almost as a mental health exercise, And I just started writing about my career, but mostly about these storefront operations, these undercover storefront operations that I had conducted, which kind of in the undercover world, that kind of, I became a subject matter expert on these types of operations, and kind of made my name doing those operations. Even though I did everything, but toward the end of my career, these were my thing. So I really concentrated on those in my book. So I named the book, Storefront Sting and ATF Agents Life Undercover. And again, I didn't expect much. I got a literary agent from my buddies, the Narcos guys, Steve Murphy and Javier Pena. And so they were like, hey, man, because I started speaking with those guys, and they were like, get an agent, man. Here's ours. So he's with UTA. So they gave me the agent. And so I got a literary agent, and he said, man, he goes, this book is like tailor made for a Netflix series, a Netflix type series, because you have these different operations. They each lasted about a year. And then you use different sets of undercover agents, different kinds of bad guys, different bosses. So each storefront operation could be a season, and you already have 5. So you got 5 seasons built in. So I said, okay, whatever. I didn't do anything. And he goes, let me just put it out there. And he put it out there, and a big Hollywood company bought it that week, the first week before the book even came out. They had bought my life rights, my life story. So, but as you know, brother, that shit nothing happens fast, right? So, it's been a year and a half, which now in Hollywood time, I didn't realize a year and a half ain't shit, right?
No.
That's nothing. So they're working on it. They got good writers. It's in the mix. But while all that was happening, Discovery Channel reached out to me and said, hey, do you have any ideas? Because they had pitched an idea to me once that was really bad. And I said, no, but they said, do you have any ideas? So I said, yeah, I'd like to do something that's not about me. Let's flip the script on all this negativity about police, about law enforcement. and let's go highlight the good work law enforcement's doing around the country, but do it in my wheelhouse, undercover work. So, there's undercover things going on all the time around the country, whether it's the human trafficking, sex trafficking stuff, guns, drugs, stolen merchandise, they're doing them around the country. So they were like, right on, man. I said, let me make the law enforcement men and women the heroes of the show, and I'll just kind of shine a light on what they're doing. And Discovery Channel said, right on, man. Let's roll with it. So we filmed one last year, and they put it on as a kind of like a pilot, I guess you could say. And with the help of John Bernthal, who really pushed it, it knocked the ratings were off the charts. So they gave me a full season. So that's what I'm doing right now. I got 2 more episodes to shoot, but at least like you were saying, for the whole Discovery or history, whatever it is, you're not going to get rich, but at least it's something tangible, right? Unlike the scripted stuff, this is something tangible. I'm actually doing it. I get to hang out with law enforcement again, travel around the country, and just shine a light on some of the super cool things they're doing. I was just in Pueblo with the police out there, and brother, they're knocking it out of the park. Great undercover unit. They seized 27 ghost guns while I was out there on this incredible operation. So all that'll be in the show. And, dude, I'm having fun doing it, man. It's super cool.
What's up, y'all? Thank you for supporting the VinnyRoc podcast. Let's talk about a couple of the sponsors. Show them some love. Bullion Box, GMR Gold, monthly subscription box. You already know, gold, silver, all kinds of cool stuff. My kids love it. My wife loves it. I love it. You guys go check them out. Modern Gun School. There's just a little cup that they gave me. But Modern Gun School is a online, at your own pace, armor school. Build guns, take care of them, clean them, do your thing. Okay? You would love it because I love it. A couple of my buddies have done it. It's a great company. Trust me, you can use your GI Bill. You can use your vocational rehab. Go check them out. Tons of veterans use it. If you guys aren't using your education benefits now, go use them. MIT 45. You guys have heard of Kratom? If you have questions of Kratom, well, we just did a podcast. So you guys go check it out if you have questions. This is proven to help people in many different ways. It's plant medicine. It's something that's new, a little controversial, but I promise you, I've only heard great things about it. You guys go check out MIT 45. Incredible sponsor. We love them. One of our new sponsors, Just Meats. I'll show you what it looks like. They come in these packages right here. We have to freeze them because we get so many of them at a time. But if you don't freeze them, you can just take them right out the package and eat them because they're already pre-cooked. I got 2 of them thawing out right now. Gonna cook some rice, make some veggies. Everyone eats. Boom, we take off to sports. Soccer, wrestling, golf, you name it, that's what we do. One of our other sponsors, pretty new. We're excited about it. Let me pull it out of my pocket. Scallywag Tactical. Have you guys ever seen these? Look at these daggers. Holy smokes. You can put them in your pocket. If you go walking, if you go hiking, you women out there who probably go walking the dog, whatever the case, you want something safe, this will protect you. Either way, you guys go check out our sponsors. We appreciate the support you've done for the VinnyRoc podcast. We have a new system now. We're going on teleprompter. A lot of our stuff's going to be remote so we can have some access to people that might not necessarily be able to bring into studio. We're excited about it. We're doing everything we can to continue to keep you guys happy and just bring you entertainment, but not even that. We talk about mental health and wellness for you guys who are out there who are looking for it. We want to be the resource. If you guys have questions, just call and ask whatever you need.
Oh, that sounds rad, man. I'm excited to see that show. And tell me more about your career in Undercover. What is one of the stories you like to tell, or something that's just fascinating? I think the viewers, who listen to the show, is going to be a lot of military and law enforcement. And so, every time I get a chance to talk to a military person or a law enforcement officer, I'm always interested in, one of their stories.
Yeah. I had no aspirations for law enforcement when I was young. It wasn't even on the radar until I was in the Bronx with a buddy of mine I had played ball with in college, and he was at his brother's house. And when the guy, I didn't even know he had a brother, right? And so this dude comes home. This is his brother, and remember, this is like Miami Vice days because I'm old. And he's driving. He's got a vet. He's an Italian guy like me, and he's got he's got the like big, long, bushy, flowing hair, and he's got a Beretta 92F in his waistband, and just like a cool looking motherfucker, So he came in and we cracked open some beers, and it turns out he was a DEA agent, and he had just gotten back from Peru doing some undercover work, and he told me a couple stories, and I was like, man, that's what I want to do, right? I don't want to be a uniformed police officer. I don't want to wear a suit. I want to be an undercover agent, right? And so that doesn't just happen. Obviously, you got to pay your dues. And, so all I did was I started taking tests for all the alphabet agencies out there. And I was totally unqualified, right? I had no experience. But I got a call from the United States Immigration and Naturalization Service for a special agent position in Los Angeles. And I flew out there and, dude, I went through the interview again, just green as shit, not knowing anything. But sometimes when you do that, you actually do better, right? I figured there's no chance I'm getting this job. You know what I mean? So I went out there and I was totally honest in the interview. And a week later, they called me and offered me the job, man. And I was off to Flexi.
Dang, bro.
Yeah, at the immigration officer basic training school. And it was a weird thing, bro. So I got out to LA, and this was 1991 when I got out there, and I think January 91. And bro, they threw me in. I was in like a gang unit, and I'm in LA Rampart task force. And, bro, I didn't know anything about like these MS-13 and all these, 18th Street gang and all these. I mean, I learned real quick, right? Especially riding with the LAPD cops, who taught me how to be a cop. And, my eyes were opened, and I'm on the streets, I'm kicking indoors, we're doing really cool stuff. But I still had that desire. I wanted to work undercover. That was my thing.
Let me ask you something, though. That's interesting that you touched on that. So you're working the immigration side of things on a task force in LA. And at the time, correct me if I'm wrong, because I know the timing and I grew up in LA, and as well as I know the historical part of the story is, so this is kind of crazy how it ties in. But MS-13 and 18th Street at one point were really taking over LA during a time where they were just the most dangerous gangs. I mean, they were doing the crazy. My dad was a LA Unified. My dad was LAFD, LA City Fire Department, and he'd go to calls where the Colombian necktie came back, where they cut their throat and pull it out. And my father came home, told us the story. It was like he told the boys, he's like, I've never seen anything like it. He said he had a double take because he's like, what the fuck is that? That's what he said. Yep. And so in that time, the historical side of it is when the MS-13 gang was starting to do that, they started getting arrested, and then there was some kind of policy put in place where they were getting deported. So you're telling me you were a part of that era where they were deporting them back to El Salvador?
Absolutely. So you remember, this is 1991, but nobody in the country had heard of MS-13, the Mara Salvatrucha, right? Nobody knew who they were. So when we started seeing that, like even like the Bloods and the Crips, like they weren't used to this kind of violence, man. I mean, these Central American gangs were coming in, bro, and like they were decapitating people. Yeah. They were chopping heads off. So let me see something here. So we saw this level of violence that no one had ever seen before, and they were like, we got to do something about it. And you're right, back then INS would actually deport, criminal aliens. We were locking them up and deporting them, and and so there was satisfaction there, right? I mean, that's what we were there for. That I guess that's kind of going away at this point. I don't know why.
Yeah, but what the crazy part of that is what you probably, since you got away from that world, what happened was the massive influx of the Mara Salvatrucha getting deported back to El Salvador is that they went back to El Salvador and they actually started taking over El Salvador. And El Salvador became one of the most dangerous countries because the gangs took over in El Salvador to the point where the new president that was elected, he shut it all down. So right now, El Salvador is one of the safest countries ever because the new president put all of them in prison and just said, no, we're done with them. But it was a crazy. It's kind of like the give and take or the cause and effect of us in LA deporting all of them. Mm-hmm. It actually really made the country struggle because we were sending all the shitbirds essentially back to the country, and the country didn't do nothing about it, but just kind of let them be. And then eventually they ended up taking over and doing extortion, drugs, the whole thing over there in El Salvador. And they didn't have a law enforcement that was really putting any kind of constraints on it until the new president showed up. So wild to hear that you were part of that history of this crazy story that I'm involved in when it comes to the immigration conversation.
Yeah, man, it was wild. I tell you what, sometimes I kind of regret leaving. I was there. INS and Customs were two separate agencies.
Yep.
We were doing great work, and we were actually making a difference. We had community impact in the city of Los Angeles because we were taking out the worst of the worst. And that's what these task forces were all about. But while I was on this task force, it was INS, LAPD, and ATF. So I start meeting the ATF guys, and bro, they were the cowboys, man. They were doing all the cool shit. They were doing all the undercover work, which I wanted to do. I remember at the academy when I first went down there, I didn't even know what ATF was, and we're all in the lunchroom, and with INS we had these silly little brown uniforms. We had no facial hair. You know the deal. You went through it and all that. So I see the ATF guys walk in the cafeteria, and it looks like the federal prison just opened up, right? And these dudes come in, and I'm like, that's where I got to be, right? That's where I need to be. So
how long ago? How long after you left in LA were you able to get into the ATF?
So it took me 7 years to get on. ATF just didn't hire. They weren't hiring much. It's a small agency. In the early 90s, they just weren't hiring. And so I bounced around. I did 5 years in LA. I did a short stint with the U.S. Marshals. I did a year in New York and a year in Puerto Rico. And while I was in Puerto Rico, ATF opened up, and they were just hiring. They were hiring 1811s only. They had one class. So if you were already in 1811, you could jump over. You didn't have to do the CI portion again of FLETC. So I got on, and 1997 the opening came up, and I got on in 98, and I hit the ground running, bro. I was lucky enough to start out with a partner who was an undercover guy, and I did my first day on the job. I bought a gun from a gangbanger in a bathroom in. So I'll just tell you this story. This was my first day. Back then when you got on ATF, you started working before you even went to the academy. So I had a badge and a gun. I hadn't been through the academy yet, and my new partner was like, "You want to work undercover?" I go, "Yeah." He said, "Okay, I got an informant who's going to introduce you to this gangbanger. He's a convicted felon. He's trying to sell this gun, and you're going to meet him at it's called Crystal. It's kind of like a White Castle, but it's down south here."
I know it. Yeah, they're all over the military.
Yeah. He goes, "You're going to meet him there, and he's going to sell you this gun. He wants $250 for it. Here's $300." So I got wired up and all that, and the informant takes me. He jumps in the car. We go to Crystal. We walk inside. It's lunchtime, so there's tons of people there, and this big, huge dude comes up, and him and the informant kind of hug, and he introduces me. And as soon as the informant introduces me, he runs out the door, like he's gone. So I'm like, I didn't know if that was part of the. I didn't know really what was going on. And the big dude he's like, "Hey man, follow me into the bathroom." So I follow him into the bathroom. We go into the bathroom, and it's a Crystal, bro. There's a sink, and there's a urinal, and there's a commode, right? And so he's like, "Come in here," and he opens the door to the toilet. It's just a stall. He walks in, and I walk in behind him, and then he reaches around and he shuts the door. So we're like this, right? He's like, this dude's like 6'6", I'm 6'2", big dude. And so there's we're here. And already I'm thinking, I'm like, okay, my first day on the job, my first undercover deal, and I've already made really bad choices because, my options right now are very limited, right? Either this is going to happen or I'm going to find some way to shove this dude's head down that toilet if it goes bad. But luckily he was there to sell the gun. He pulls a gun out, which was a little, kind of a shaky moment right there. He pulls a gun out of his waistband. I give him $300, even though he wanted $250. I want to get the hell out of it. I gave him $300. We do the deal. We walk out of the bathroom, and I didn't know at that point, like, what's protocol? Are we supposed to sit down and break bread? So you know what? I ran out the door just like the informant did before me. I just ran right out the door and got in my car. And So, I call into the cover team. I say, hey, man, everything's good. I'm on my way back to the meeting spot. And I'm driving back to the meeting spot. And I got this. It was an old Raven. Remember Ravens, those old shitty guns? It was a Raven, I think 32 caliber. And I remember looking at it. And I'm like, man, I just took this gun off the street out of a gangbanger, a convicted felon. And this gun's going in the evidence vault because of what I just did. And it was the greatest feeling I've ever had in my life. And that was my like crack cocaine right there. And I never looked back. 18 years straight, I worked undercover. I became obsessed. I loved it. And that's what I did.
It's a crazy to think. I'm thinking if it was me, like your first day on the job, and you're like, okay, is this normal? Right? Like, there's no coaching in that sense. Like, is this normal? Is this how you do it? You're going into a stall with another dude who has a gun. Like, all of it sounds like the worst case scenario for like, that's not the tactical advantage. Right? Did you have any kind of like a real training of fighting that you felt confident about it?
I was a wrestler and I was a boxer. So, I knew if we had to throw down, I could take care of myself. But it was more of just the situation was bizarre because I knew there was going to be a gun involved, right? Because it was a gun deal. Like 5 years after that, I would not have gone in that stall with that dude, right? You know what I mean? But I was, again, it was my first time, and luckily it worked out because. There's guys, Jay Dobbins, I don't know if a guy I worked with, he got shot his first day on the job, right? And that easily could have been me too. But, you do these things and hopefully you live and learn. And, so what I did from there is I really paid my dues in the undercover world the way you're supposed to by doing a lot of small local undercover deals, alleyways, car washes, parking lots, meeting convicted felons, meeting gangbangers, just buying guns, meeting dudes selling machine guns, sawed-off shotguns, buying just small amounts of dope. No big. I'm not talking about some big crazy cases. Just the kind of the meat and gravy of undercover work. That's how you get your base. That's how you grow your resume if you want to do what I wanted to do, and that was those big, long embedded cases where you're traveling all over the country and infiltrating criminal organizations.
Yeah, man, that sounds like, to me, it's some of the most exciting work that I never got to do. I got to do some fun stuff, but like I wanted to do undercover work my whole life. It's like you see it in movies. It seems to be the scariest thing. There's a lot of ATF stories of guys going deep for long periods of time and different, Hell's Angels and different, so on and so forth. And it always sounds like probably the most scary yet exhilarating job that any law enforcement officer can do. In my opinion, it always sounds, I've never got to do it. So that's why I think it's always, for me, it's like that shiny penny, like, fuck, that's something I wish I'd done because that sounds badass. And I've done I've done a very weird version of that where like it wasn't like the Border Patrol, we can't do undercover, so, but by chance, me being in the right place at the right time in a barbershop, people talk, you hear, and you're like, oh, that guy's involved. Okay, cool. That's someone we should probably watch. That kind of thing is different, but I've been in those scenarios because the way I look, people will be very confident to talk to me in a way, not realizing I was a federal agent. And I just kind of sit there and like, keep talking. I'm listening in my head. Right. But, and that was like the closest I ever got to like really having a chance to do some undercover work. In your 18 years of undercover work, what was the scariest probably moment of your career?
I'll tell you the scariest moment that sticks out. I've been in deals in cars and stuff, where dudes pointed guns at my face, countless times. But what I remember as like true having really a feeling like, man, I might not make it out of here, was a case I did in Chicago. It was an interesting case because it was the Italian mafia, which is why they called me to do it. It was the Italian mafia and the outlaw motorcycle gang working together. So when they found out that those two, major league criminal organizations were actually working together, it was actually the only time I ever worked with the FBI in my career, because they were on the case too, because it involved a bombing. So ATF and FBI are always at war over the bombings, who's going to work it. So they were actually working together, and the dude that I was working on it was a tough one. This was very different than all the other cases. These weren't like just like street dudes or just plain bikers or whatever. This guy was on another level. There was no crime he wasn't into. He had already sniffed out 3 dudes that the FBI had sent in on him. Three and 4. 2 of them were dirty cops up there, and one was like a childhood friend he had grown up with. And the dude was just smart. I mean, he wasn't a convicted felon. Like I said, he was doing extortion, bombings, dope dealing, guns, like stolen merchandise on another level. I'm talking about when you got 18 wheelers full of flat screens, and the driver parks and walks away, on that level, right?
Yeah.
So they sent me in on this dude, and with this crazy, like, to cold call him. There was no informant. They couldn't use an informant because he was sniffing the informants out. And it took a long time. And I was posing as an MMA fighter. That was my cover. And
so you're an MMA fighter that wants to be a part of the deal?
Yeah, I was an MMA fighter like a down and out MMA fighter who was just looking for a hustle, trying to make money. So that's how they sent me in on him. Like I was like a punching bag up there, but I had to actually go to a Gracie MMA gym and actually do this because the dude was, they were checking up on me. Again, he was a patched outlaw motorcycle gang member and a member of the outfit. That's what they call the Italian Mafia in Chicago. They call me outfit. So it took a long time for me to get this guy's trust. He just, that's why he was still out there, because he was smart. And there was a night where he had asked me to go to a strip joint with him, and I go out there and it was just me and him. And he never paid for anything, no matter where he went. Right? He had a piece of like every club, one of those deals. So he's giving me shots, and we're toasting and doing shots, and he drank Jaeger and Red Bull, like the worst shit I ever had. And he says to me, he goes, I really appreciate you being here tonight. He goes, it's my birthday. It was his 40th birthday. I didn't even realize it. He goes, I can't trust the people around me. I can't trust the people I grew up with, the people in my life. And I knew exactly what he was talking about, He's talking about those 3 informants that the FBI had sent after him. And he goes, I appreciate I got someone I can trust. And I remember like my heart kind of sank, I'm thinking, man, dude, you're
about to break his heart too.
Yeah, man, you right. You picked, you didn't choose wisely, dude. But he kind of had let me in, and when I would go to his place, he had it was called Goldberg Jewelers. He had a jewelry store in Cicero, which is like a real criminal area in Chicago. It's where Al Capone was set up when he was out there, and when I would go in there, I couldn't even wear any kind of transmitter or anything because he had all this equipment to detect all that, and he had monitors and cameras, and they couldn't even surveil closely because they had already been burnt. Anytime there was cars there that didn't belong, they would give him a heads up. Even the local cops would give him a heads up.
Yeah.
While I was in there dealing with him, he would get calls from the fucking Cicero Police Department. Hey, there's feds outside. They're watching.
Damn.
Yeah. So and they all these little weird ways they knew they were feds. Like, that Easy Pass that's up in the window on a car?
Yeah.
None of the locals in Cicero have that because no one ever left Cicero, right? So they knew when they saw a car parked there and there was an Easy Pass and there was people sitting inside that was a fed, and they would dime him out. So I'm getting to the scariest, but one time, I had already worked my way in there and gotten his trust, and ATF just sometimes the moves they make where I couldn't understand, but they wanted me to double up on my recording my recording devices because I didn't have a transmitter. So nobody externally could record it, right? The only recordings would be from me. So they gave me this new watch they had gotten. It was a watch that recorded conversations. But the thing was about this thick. It was the dumbest watch you ever saw, right? I didn't even feel comfortable wearing it. And so, believe it or not, this dude actually was a jeweler. His store was called Goldberg's Jeweler. It was a straight up front, but he was a jeweler. So I'm sitting there trying to do a deal with him, and he's looking at my watch. And so, I'm getting a little paranoid because he keeps staring at my watch. And finally he goes, "What the fuck is that watch, man?" He goes, "Let me see that thing." He goes, "I've never seen a watch like that before."
Fuck.
So, I mean, what are you going to do, right? And there's because no one can hear me, and they couldn't even get close. So, the only thing a cover team's going to do at this point is avenge my death, right? So I handed it to him, right? I said, "Hey, check it out." And so he starts, he's fist fucking it and looking at it. And bro, right then at that point, when he's looking at this watch that I know has a recording device in it, even that was the worst feeling I've ever had because I'm in this fortress, right? This place was fortified, multiple chain link fences with serpentine wire and all that shit. And the doors were all steel. And he's holding this ATF recording device in his hands and he's studying it. And that right there was the most helpless I've ever felt. Because, he had three of his guys in there. I knew he always was armed. And I was like, man, I'm not talking my way out of this one, right? There's no getting around this. The best I can do is say, I'm a Fed, they're listening, you better let me out of here, right? So that was the scariest point of my career. Scarier than having dudes point guns in my faces and all that was that because this dude was just on another level. You know what I mean? He wasn't some street thug. He was a fucking gangster, a real gangster. And so, he gave the watch back to me, but things were a little different at that point. I could tell, as soon as he gave the watch back to me, the deal never happened and I got the fuck out of there as soon as I could. And so to kind of cover for that, we got, here's the worst part. I go back to my hotel room after that, and I get on my computer and I Google the brand of that watch that ATF gave me. Yeah. And when I Googled it, the first thing that came up was Spy Gear. You know that website, Spy Gear?
Yeah.
And so I'm calling ATF headquarters. I'm like, are you fucking kidding? That's the best you can fucking do right there. Really? And so what we did is we had the company send us another watch, that same watch, but no recording device in it. And next time I went back, I told them, I said, man, one of the fighters gave me this fucking watch. I said, but I see you liked it so much. Here it is, man. You can have it. And I just left it there. So, nice. I'm sure we took it apart and shit, but that was the best way we figured to cover it. But that was a sinking low point in my career when that dude was examining my my recording device.
Damn, that's crazy, man. That's so. That story reminds me a little bit of The Departed. Remember that movie?
Yep.
It felt like
Great job.
Was that a good film?
Dude, I've never watched a movie where they had an undercover guy and thought that they nailed it, but I thought they did with DiCaprio on that. He did a good job because undercover work ruins your life. It just does, right? It trashes your fucking personal life, and you could see that with him in that movie.
I imagine it's no different than an actor getting too deep into character and eventually kind of losing sight of what's real and what's not, what's the real self and what's the character. I've read several other undercover books in a sense where, the thin line where they end up crossing in a sense where they're just like, I don't know who the fuck is who anymore. I'm kind of living both lives at the same fucking dude.
Bro, it leads to, obviously bad behavior while you're in role. But then it leads to bad behavior when you're out of role. It just does.
Yeah, I imagine you start to cross lines you never would have in your life, and then those lines become blurred.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, most of us were type A personalities and shit. So when you really get into that undercover world, you run it right into the fucking ground. And that's what I did. I ran my professional life and my personal life right into the ground, man. I mean, head first, just as never let off the pedal. And that's how a lot of us end up. And so I barely crossed the finish line at the end of my career. Like, I always say I was kind of asked to leave. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's just the way it goes, man. And if on the personal side, I, I have deep regrets. I miss so much of my kids' lives, and I certainly didn't do my marriage any favors. But on the professional side, I was doing what I was meant to do. I loved it. It's what I was born to do. That's how I feel.
Yeah, no, it's funny. I think a lot of guys in our capacity have that same regret. Let me ask you a quick question. Are you still married to the same woman, or how's that?
I am still married, bro, because I married a Latina, my queen from Queens, and luckily she doesn't believe in divorce. Otherwise, she would have left my ass a long time ago, bro.
Man, it's a beautiful thing, and it's almost unheard of these days.
Yeah,
almost unheard of these days, man. It's hearing your story and what you just said right now that resonates so much with me. Is that for so long? I mean, I'm just gonna echo everything that's in your own head. Is that for so long we pick the mission over family?
Yes,
and there's reasons for it. Like what most people probably wouldn't understand is there's this overwhelming pressure to provide for your family. And then when you find the job that provides for the family, but also fills that gap of thrill that a lot of us men look for, it's easy to get lost and just make the excuse of like, yeah, but we're paying the bills. Yeah, but I'm doing what a dad does. I'm doing my job, and you guys are good, and you got the roof over your head, and you got the money, food in your mouths, you guys going to good schools and everything. And we can sit there and justify that for years and years and years, even though there's a bird in the back of our head, this little voice that says, bro, get home. The other side goes, yeah, but it's a lot easier doing this job. It's a lot easier for me to go to war. It's a lot easier for me to pick the mission because I don't have to go home and actually be a dad that has to reciprocate emotions, that has to do a birthday party, which sounds fucking terrible. Like all these things that us as like men struggle with, our wives pick up the pieces of that and then they get whatever's left over.
Yep. Every word you just said it's so true. We're type A personalities and when my wife would be like, shit, you haven't really been home in 8 months, I would be just like you said, yeah, but isn't that federal Blue Cross Blue Shield? That's great insurance, right? Like, I'm doing something for the family.
Yeah, but money in the account, we're good.
And when when you're working undercover and you just think about it, I would go to different cities. And my name was Sal Nunziato. That's who I was. I was Sal Nunziato, and I had a driver's license, social security card, credit cards, passport, you name it. I mean, I was Sal Nunziato. I could go into another city and be Sal Nunziato with zero accountability. I could wreak havoc and leave, and it would never come back on me, right?
Yeah.
And so. And everybody loved Sal Nunziato. He was a fun motherfucker, man. Like throwing money around, right? He was a dirty fucker throwing money around. Like the party revolved around Sal Nunziato. Lou Valoze wasn't so fun, right? I would get home and my wife would be like, hey, check it out. The neighbors are bitching because the fucking grass is 2 feet long right now. Get the fucking, go kickstart that lawnmower. Let's go. And it wasn't so fun being Lou Valoze when I came home, but man. Yeah,
it's so crazy hearing that because, there is no accountability for Lou. Oh, sorry, for who was it? Phil? What was his name?
Sal Nunziato. Yeah.
Sal isn't married. Sal doesn't have kids. You know what I mean? Sal's a savage. He's a whole
savage.
Man, that's so crazy because that's the same. Like when I'm at war, there is no rules. I need to get home to them. So I'm like, fuck everything, bro. And even in like military schools or special operations training, I've always been like I've always been miscongeniality. I was like, oh, you're fucking bro, because I got no pressure here. I'm on myself. Right. I'm a fucking machine right now. I fucking drink. I work hard. I'm a fucking animal. So everyone like loves that version of me. Then you get home, It's like, take out the trash, motherfucker.
Well, it's just the way it is. If you're on, deployment, if you're in the military or, you're out there fucking kicking ass on the border or you're working undercover, you don't have to, if you're doing that, that's like an excuse for us, not to deal with all the shit that's broken in your house, right? Yeah. And, the principal who's calling about your kid fucking up, right? Yeah. Because it's easy to say, hey, listen, man, I'm on a mission. I'm busy. You got to handle that to the wife, Yeah. And it's just when you think about it later, it's not fair. It's not fair to your wife.
I've told that I've said in several conversations, I've forgiven myself because I'm a better man now, but my oldest two kids didn't get the best version of me, right? They got the guy that came home and drank because I didn't want to experience what the hell I was in front of me. My daughter was like, Dad, remember like teaching me how to ride my bike? And I was like, I don't because when I'm home, I was drinking. You know what I mean? I was so disconnected. I didn't want to be home. I want to go back to the mission. I want to go back to work. Yeah. And I felt bad because like my oldest daughter sees me now with my kids and I'm very relevant. I'm in their lives. I mean, I'm sure you see me posting. I'm trying to be home as much as possible, involved in all the things, even if I fucking hate it, dude, I'm doing it. Like yesterday, my wife forced me to go outside with the kids while we played in the water. Right. And I'm like, okay. And then eventually I'm in the water playing with them. But like that memory in my past, I didn't give two shits about it. I was like, no, dude, they're kids, go play. Now I'm like, no, let me be out there with them. And so it's crazy, man. I'm glad that I saw the error in my ways. But I sit there and thinking like, fuck, man, my kids didn't get a good version of me. And I hope they forgive me, dude. You know what I mean? I hope they fucking forgive me for that.
And all you can do at this point is make up for that lost time, right? Because you can't go back in time, but you can make up for it. You can make up for it now. And that's what you got to do because, and it's funny, there's so much cross-contamination between the military and law enforcement, and I get guys hitting me up and asking me questions, young like pipe hitters who want to either, I want to be a Marine Raider, I want to be a SEAL, I want to be a federal agent, whatever it is. And I always tell them the same thing. We need men and women like you, go for it, but stay single. If you want to be a great federal agent or you want to be like the best fucking Marine Raider who's ever been or whatever it is, stay single. Stay single. When you get it out of your system, go ahead and get a family. But try and, because the only way, and I truly believe in my little world of undercover, if you want to be a truly great undercover agent, that comes first. You cannot be a great family man and be a great undercover agent. It's mutually exclusive, man.
Yeah. I mean, I think you're 100% correct. And like, I've seen guys do well, but something always gets the sacrifice. Mm-hmm. And if you're really good at work, like all my special operations dudes in the Border Patrol, we were running and gunning, gone all the time.
Yep,
bro. Just when you're really good at work, the family pays. Whether even if you're FaceTiming them at night, even if you're paying the bills, even if when you're available, you're home, they're still paying that price, dude, because they're missing on things that their kids in their school get every day. They're missing things that my son the other day was like, Dad, my 4-year-old, he goes, Papa, you didn't go to my school. And I was like, yeah, Pop, I had work. He goes, but all the dads were there. I said, yeah, Pop, but I had work. He goes, no, but my teacher said all dads will be there. And I'm like, bro, and I want to be like, tell that teacher to stop that shit. But it was like, but I felt bad, bro. Cause I'm like, he couldn't register like all the other dads were there. And where were you? And it's like, that shit hits me now and it hurts compared to when it used to. I'd be like, I'm at work, dog. It's all good. But someone always gets the shitty end of that stick, right? Like only one thing gets 100. Only one thing gets 100%.
That's right. No, it definitely hurts, bro. The kids, all the kids know, you got to think about it from a kid's perspective. They just know that you weren't at that dance recital, you weren't at that soccer game. That's all they know. They don't give a fuck if you're saving the world, dude. They just know, dad wasn't there, man. Everyone else's dad was there. Mine wasn't, and
Well,
those,
yeah, they
those
don't
things,
care you were saving the world because you weren't saving theirs.
right. That's right. And you know how kids are, bro. Those little things stay with them, man,
I know, bro. Let me tell you a cool story, though. I'll tell you this for all those dads who are like us. And like you said, you have a chance to fix it when you figure that out. You have a chance. My 21-year-old graduated college, and we've been on the outs, bro. When I say, like, she'll call me and she'll dog me out like, you weren't there and all the things. And I let her just, like, have at it, dude. Get it off your chest. And I even tell, like, I've shown her, like, Mama, I'm sober now. Lou, I've been sober almost 5 years, coming up in a few days. But I've also done a lot of different counseling. I've really worked on me, man, because I saw the error of my ways, like I said. And I've told her, like, I can't fix any of it other than saying I'm sorry. And I'm here for you. I love you. All the things, right? I just said everything I said. I said, you can tell me all the things. You can say whatever you want. There's no judgment. And so when me and my wife flew out to go see her graduation, I just wasn't sure how it was going to be because we haven't seen each other like in that capacity and like really engaged. And she's like, Dad, can I cook you dinner? I'm like, yeah, Mama, let's do it. And it was really cool, right? It was a cool moment. So I'm like, oh man, I think things are good or getting better. But the day of her graduation, I already had to fly back. So I said, look, babe, as soon as you're done graduating across stage, I'll be right here, meet you. I want to take pictures, hug you, and I want to get out of here. She's like, okay. Well, dude, the time went long and I was about to miss it, dude. Like the timing was so tight that I said, babe, we got to go. We're going to miss our flight. And I had work the next day that I couldn't get out of. So I was like, we got to go. And I'm like, fuck, man. And I'm texting, trying to figure it out. And her phone died. So as I'm walking away, probably already 50 meters, I hear her go, Dad. And bro, in her dress, in her gown, she's running saying, Dad. And she's running, bro. And I almost lost it as a dad. Man. I'm like, man, she still loves me, dude. Yes. She still loves me. She still needed me. She's right there. And she ran to me, bro. It was like, that healed me of my question whether she still like saw me as dad or she was like I was a threat to her or whatever. But it was like, man, you could fix things, man. And I felt like we're in a good place now, man. And it was just like I needed that for me to be like, oh, that's my daughter, bro. She's always gonna love me, and I'm glad I was able to kind of hopefully fix that,
Yeah, bro. I tell you what I can tell you from my own experience is one of the best things you can tell her is, listen. I was not there for things like I wanted to be. I missed things because of my job, because I didn't have my priorities, the way they should be. And I know you're going to carry that for the rest of your life, and I'm going to carry that for the rest of my life. But let me do it. I'm going to carry that to my grave. Let me do that. I'm going to put that on my back and carry it so you don't have to. I'll take it. I take all the blame, and I'm going to carry that load to the grave. You don't have to carry it. I'm doing it for you.
I love that.
And let's move forward. Let's move forward from here.
I love that, bro. I love that shit. Bro, tell us where we can watch your show, man.
So Operation Undercover. The best place is streaming on Max. So Discovery and Max are kind of one now, right? Warner Brothers. They're all together. So it is. You can stream it on Discovery Plus, or you can stream it on Max, HBO Max, whatever they call it now. Okay. And you can watch it live on Investigation Discovery. So there's only one out now, the pilot. And you can just go on there and just put in Operation Undercover and it'll come right up. And we have 7 episodes coming. We got 2 more to film. And by the time editing is done and all that, they'll be out probably November. And it'll be, 7 more episodes. And I'm telling you right now, it really is a very different show. There's never been a show like this. I actually embed myself with these undercover officers in these, sheriff's departments and police departments around the country, and they're knocking out gun deals, drug deals. They're busting up human trafficking rings. It's some really cool stuff. They're doing like these hotel stings. They're running informants. They're doing the undercover themselves, and we're right in there. When these buys are happening, we're right there sitting in the cover team's car, and we're watching it, and I'm commentating on it. and you see the case from beginning to end, how they start it and how they finish it. And I tell you what, it's really cool, man.
That's cool, man. Yeah, I'll check it out. Also, you guys who are listening, go check out his book, Storefront Sting, an ATF's agent's life undercover. Where can they pick that up at?
Best place to do it is on Amazon. Just go on Amazon, put in Storefront String, and it's a good, fast read. And it just pretty much lays out all these storefront operations. And hopefully you'll be watching it on Netflix soon after you read the book.
I hope I'm a bad guy in that bad boy, dude.
Hey, let's talk, man, for sure.
Hey, I'm down. I'm down to be a part of it any way, shape, or form, man.
All right.
Dude, Lou, thank you for being a part of the show, man. Thank you for being. I had no idea where the conversation was going to go, but I was honored to have this conversation with you. It's crazy how similar we are as men on the lives that we lived. I hope that we get more time just to sit down and have dinner one day and just kind of talk shop, bro.
Yeah, but for sure, man. You're a warrior, bro. I've read your book. I love what you do, and it's my honor and pleasure to know you and to be on your show today.
Thank you so much, brother. I appreciate it. Those of you guys who are listening, go check out Lou. Go check out his book. Go check out his show. Don't forget to mention that Light the Fuse on Wednesdays, we have men's calls for mental health. The American Legion, if you guys are veterans, go check them out. Henry Rifle is coming out with a 100-year anniversary rifle for the Border Patrol. So if you're a Border Patrol agent, you guys go check that out. Don't forget to check out our other podcast, Borderland. You can see it from Ironclad. And as well as my book, Borderline, you can get it on Amazon, wherever else. Thank you for watching the show, y'all. I hope you got something out of it. If you guys ever need anything, please contact us directly. Later. Thank you.